Hello, this is Maya with my homemade recipe for chicken Alfredo. This is a recipe that my family loves and I make it all the time, so here we go. For the ingredients, I use chicken breast. For the cheese, I use an Italian cheese mix, and I use Parmesan cheese. For the noodles, I use Linguine noodles. You can really use any noodles that you have for this recipe, whether it's pasta shells or Alfredo, the actual Alfredo noodles. We just chose Linguine since my family does like the thinner noodles than the Alfredo noodles. Alright, and then for seasonings, we have garlic powder, we have onion powder, we have the heavy cream for our Alfredo sauce, we add a pinch of salt, some black pepper, we have some crushed red pepper for the chicken, and we have some Slap Ya Mama seasoning. Okay, if you know, you know. For that chicken, it is amazing. And then we have a little bit of olive oil to cook our chicken in. Alright, and here you see I've already prepared my chicken breasts. I cleaned them off and then I put them in some saran wrap. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to thin them out so that we can get an even cook on them. I'm just going to keep pounding it down until it's about a half an inch thick. Alright, so once I've done here is I've uncovered the chicken. I have drizzled olive oil on the chicken and rubbed it down so that the seasonings will be able to stick very well. And now I am putting on the onion powder, the garlic powder, I'm gonna put on some red chili flake, and then the Slap Ya Mama seasoning, and I'm going to season both sides of the chicken with all of these seasonings, and I will drizzle with both the pepper and the salt. And I don't believe I included this, but I did also put paprika on the chicken to kind of add a little bit more color once we put it in the pan. Alright, so now we have seasoned our chicken. It is time to put it in the pan. Now, I will say it does help to get a sear on the chicken. If you want to drizzle a little bit of olive oil in the pan and let it preheat for maybe about 3 or 4 minutes, that would definitely help along to get the color that you want on the chicken. Now, what I'm showing here is for people who are very new to cooking. The way that you know that the chicken is starting to cook very well is you start to see where it's turning a little bit white around the edges. Now, also a few tips while your chicken is cooking. So while your chicken is cooking, go on ahead and you can put some water in a pot so that we can cook our noodles through. Feel free to follow the instructions that are on the back of the box. I'm just putting some salt in the water to boil the noodles. And now you see where I have flipped over the first piece of chicken. Now I'm flipping over the second piece, and it looks perfect. So we're just going to let it have a couple more minutes to cook all the way through, and then we're going to put them to the side in a bit. Alright, so now that our chicken is done, I did have a plate off to the side so that the chicken can rest over time while we are starting our pasta sauce. So now you'll see that I am putting some butter in the pan so that all that seasoning can come up and all of that good flavor can be incorporated into our Alfredo sauce. Alright, so now that your butter has completely melted in your pan, you can start to incorporate the heavy cream. Now at this point, so that I do have better control over the Alfredo sauce, because you do not want it to burn, I believe I did lower the heat to around medium, around 5. So right now, you see that I'm just stirring it around so that that flavor and all of the seasonings that was already in our pan can start to incorporate into our sauce. Alright, y'all, so at this point, once my flavor has pretty much saturated, I did increase the heat to bring the sauce to a boil. And at this point, you are seeing me whisk it so that nothing is sticking to the bottom, making sure that nothing is sticking to the bottom. And I'm going to start incorporating my cheeses. So right now, I'm putting in the Italian blend cheese and the Parmesan cheese. And just a tip as well for your pasta sauce, I don't like to add the cheeses too soon, too quick, because we don't want clumps of cheese in our sauce. We want it to be really, really smooth and really, really yummy. So I really only add just a little bit at a time of each, and then you see me whisking to kind of incorporate it and make sure there aren't any lumps, to make sure there isn't anything burning or sticking to the bottom of the pan. Okay, and as you are adding your cheeses little by little and you're whisking them, you will start to notice that you are forming a sauce and it is getting thicker without flour or anything like that. To formulate the sauce, all we really use is the heavy cream and the cheese. So at this point, I did start adding a little bit of pepper, and I did add a little bit of salt to the sauce. Once again, this is a meal for you and your family, so season it to your taste. If you do show that the pasta sauce is getting a little bit too thick, I do add just a little bit of the pasta water that you boiled your noodles in. You can add it to the sauce. Don't add too much because we don't want a watery sauce, but I do just add just a little bit to kind of loosen the sauce. So at this point, my sauce is basically done. What I'm doing is I'm just putting a fork in it, and if it does coat the fork like so, then you know that it is ready for you to add the noodles. Now I'm just uncovering the chicken that I've put to the side, and I'm just going to cut them. You can leave them whole like this if you like. Cut them as you like if you want to. You don't have to do it like this, but this is just how my family likes it. Alright, and once you've cut your chicken and you've introduced everything together, this is what it'll look like. Let me know how you guys just turned out, and like and subscribe.